This is Taiwan Insider, a weekly news roundup brought to you by Radio Taiwan International.
Every week, we give you an inside look at the biggest and most interesting stories coming out of Taiwan. I'm Natalie So.
And I'm Andrew Ryan, and here's your week in a minute.
Taiwan is once again being excluded from the World Health Assembly, the decision-making body of the WHO. Taiwan once took part in its annual meetings as an observer, but it has been barred since 2017 due to Chinese pressure. This year's meeting will take place at the end of the month with no Taiwanese delegation. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a bill calling for regular transfers of defensive weapons to Taiwan. It has also passed a resolution calling for the U.S. Secretary of State to support Taiwan's participation in the WHO. The Prime Minister of the Solomon Islands has considered cutting ties with Taiwan. That's according to a report in The Australian. President Tsai says Taiwan will do all it can to stabilize ties. Former Premier William Lai says he won't join President Tsai's re-election campaign as her number two. Both Lai and Tsai are vying to become the DPP's nominee for president in next year's election. With neither candidate backing down, a primary battle seems increasingly likely. The legislature has targeted Chinese spies in a new revision to the criminal code. Lawmakers have also tightened control on those who make unauthorized agreements with foreign powers. And that's your week in a minute.
Every week at the top of our show, we each come up with a word of the week that we think describes what we're going to be talking about today.
That's right.
So do you want to guess my word? Andrew?
Yes. Indiscriminate, infinite, in flight, influx, influential, influence.
Influence. Okay, we're going to be talking about Taiwan's influence in the U.S.-China trade war. Also, how that trade war is influencing Taiwan. We'll also be talking about mothers who have a great influence on their children.
That's because Mother's Day is coming up this Sunday.
You remember, huh?
I do remember. How would I dare forget? All right, you ready for my word?
Yes.
All right.
So the small word.
It is.
Mom?
Close.
Mum.
Mum.
Aww.
Mum's the word. When I was a kid, I called my mom because I lived in Australia for primary school. But actually, the other reason, not just because of Mother's Day, I also chose it because of Mum's the word, which is a lot of people are holding their cards very close to their chest, not saying what they may be thinking. This is true of all of the candidates who are running for president, or some of those who may be running for president and haven't said so yet. This is also true of U.S.-China trade talks. Everybody is saying Mum's the word except for President Trump.
Very clever, Andrew. Covers everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's coming up on today's show? We'll be talking about Taiwan's role in the U.S.-China trade war and how that trade war is impacting Taiwan. Also, how the WHO says breastfeeding can reduce the chance of your child becoming overweight. Also, we'll be chatting with the author of a new English children's book called Hey Taipei.
And do you know where this is? Have a look at this. Wow, look at that.
Wow.
Very ethereal.
Right, yes.
But where is it? Well, we're going to have that answer for you today a little bit later on in our show, in our parting shot.
And we now turn to our top story. The U.S.-China trade war is heating up. The U.S. is saying that China is not coming through with its commitments. So President Donald Trump said this week that he is going to raise tariffs on Chinese goods this Friday. Trump tweeted on Monday that for 10 months, China has been paying 25% tariffs to the U.S. on $50 billion of high-tech goods and 10% on $200 billion of other goods. These payments are partially responsible for the U.S.'s great economic results. He said the 10% will go up to 25% on Friday.
China's top trade negotiator, Vice Premier Liu He, is in the United States this week to continue trade talks. Earlier this week, the U.S. House of Representatives also unanimously passed the Taiwan Assurance Act. It calls for greater support for Taiwan's defense and its participation in international organization. It also calls for continuation of free trade talks.
And this show of support for Taiwan comes right during crucial U.S.-China trade talks. So what role is Taiwan playing in the U.S.-China trade war? And how is that trade war impacting Taiwan? Well, that's the topic of today's Taiwan Explained. In today's Taiwan Explained, I'm going to be telling you about Taiwan's role in the U.S.-China trade war and the trade war's impact on Taiwan.
All right, Natalie, are you ready? We have 60 seconds on the clock, and I got a buzzer.
All right.
Let's do it. Go.
Xi Jinping says the Taiwan issue is the most important and sensitive issue in U.S.-China relations. So the U.S. can use its support for Taiwan as leverage for China talks. Now, they've been showing their support through sending U.S. warships in the Taiwan Strait, high-level visits, arms sales, and pro-Taiwan legislation. Now, the trade war is affecting Taiwan's economy because exports account for 57% of GDP. They were at a high last year, but the first quarter of this year, they fell 4% because of the trade war. Now, exports fell 11% to China, but they went up 20% to the United States. Also, foreign investment went up last year by 31%. And this year so far, 40 Taiwanese companies are relocating from China to Taiwan. Taiwan is selling itself as a great place for high-tech investment. It is free from Chinese tariffs and data security issues. Also, I almost got it this time.
That's okay.
Did I finish my last sentence?
Of course, finish
Okay,
up.
so we have a strong high-tech sector with lots of affordable, capable talent.
Fantastic job, Natalie. That's today's Taiwan Explained. Up next, we're going to go straight into Taiwan by number. Each week in Taiwan by Number, we share with you a facet of life in Taiwan by way of a number. Now, this coming Sunday is Mother's Day, Natalie.
That's right.
So our topic is related to that. It's about breastfeeding. Now, in just a moment, we're going to share with you a report about how the WHO says that breastfeeding can help reduce the risk of your child becoming overweight. But first, a question for you.
Okay.
Little quiz.
All right.
What percentage of babies under 6 months old in Taiwan are exclusively breastfed?
20%?
20%?
Wild guess.
Okay. Very good guess, 20%. We'll have the answer for you in just a moment. First, have a look at this report. Taiwan is encouraging new mothers to breastfeed. Not only is it good for the baby, it's good for the mother, too. WHO research has found that babies that are breastfed for less than 6 months are more likely to become overweight children. Pediatrician Ce Canwei says breastfeeding reduces insulin secretion, and bifidobacterium in breast milk can help reduce the likelihood of becoming overweight. A WHO study of 100,000 European school children found that of all the children that were not breastfed as babies, 1 in 5 was overweight. Last year in Taiwan, 46% of babies under 6 months were exclusively breastfed, close to the WHO world goal of 50% by 2025. The Health Promotion Administration's Chen Lijun says breast milk is the most natural, so it's better for babies than formula. The WHO recommends feeding babies only breast milk for the first 6 months, and along with solids until the age of 2. All right. So before the video, I asked you what percentage of babies under 6 months of age are exclusively breastfed in Taiwan? And you saw the answer in the video. You said 20%?
Yeah.
And the answer is, have a look at this.
I'm so impressed. 46%. That's a lot. Because I did that with my first child. That's very hard to do.
I can't even imagine.
They get really hungry, and because breast milk is not as filling as formula milk. So you have to be there every 3 hours, or you have to pump, and there's a lot of work involved. But that's great. It's great that it's so high. It
is very good, and we're going to tell you some of the great reasons why it's good to have you breastfeed your child. But actually, I want to tell you another percentage. Back in the 1980s, the percentage of 6 months year old babies and under that were exclusively breastfed was only about 6%.
Wow, that's a major improvement.
A major improvement. And now, so as I was doing this research, I did look into some of the benefits of breastfeeding. And I know that you actually breastfed your kids, right? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
It's a great experience. I knew it was good for the kids because actually the doctors and the hospitals encourage you to do so. And it's great for their health and for their immunity and for bonding with your child. But it is demanding. It takes a lot of your time. And if you're working, you have to pump. There's a lot involved. They get hungrier faster, so it's more work. And you have to get up in the middle of the night, right? Your husband can't do that for you, right? so you have to be more committed than the average mom, maybe, who's not breastfeeding. So there's a lot of work involved, but it is a special experience. It's great for the child.
But as we've mentioned, there are some great reasons why breastfeeding is good for your child. It's also good for the mom. Do you know some of those reasons?
Well, I know it burns calories because you get hungrier when you breastfeed, but actually it's supposed to help you lose the weight that you gained.
Helps the mom lose the weight,
Yeah,
yep.
not the kid.
Well, we did mention in the video that actually
that's
reduces
true.
the...
It keeps them from gaining too much weight later, right?
That's right.
And I know it's healthier. It's just like the perfect milk for them. So you just feel like you're doing a good job when you're doing that for your kids.
Absolutely. Well, we have a list of the different ways in which breastfeeding is good for the child and for the mom. First of all, as we mentioned, it is the perfect mix of fat, proteins, and vitamins. It also contains antibodies, and that means that it can help your baby fight off bacteria and viruses. It also reduces the risk of babies getting asthma and allergies. And finally, for the mom, as you mentioned, it helps the mom lose weight, but it also reduces the risk of certain kinds of cancer, breast cancer and ovarian cancer.
That's good news.
It is very good news. Now, one of the other things that I was looking into when I was researching this topic is the law here in Taiwan. And I want to actually give you a scenario and see if you can tell whether you think this is legal or illegal. And you can play along at home. Let's say you go into a public place, a supermarket, and you want to breastfeed your child in public. If somebody that works at the supermarket tells you to go somewhere else or go to a designated feeding room, is that legal or illegal in Taiwan?
I think it's illegal. I've been following this because I think that some people were offended by mothers publicly breastfeeding, but then women activists have been, trying to get the law changed so that they can do it whenever they want, wherever they want to, whenever they want to.
That's right. And I mean, it's a natural thing. We know this is an important part of a child growing up.
They're not trying to expose themselves or anything.
Exactly.
They're trying to feed. I mean, their kids, they're hungry in any place, any time. You can't really control that. So
Exactly. And your answer is absolutely 100% correct. It is illegal in Taiwan for anyone to tell a breastfeeding mother that she needs to do it somewhere else. And there's a fine of up to 30,000 Taiwan dollars for doing that, for telling somebody that they can't breastfeed anywhere.
So you can see the government is totally behind breastfeeding. That's great.
Absolutely. And actually, there are very strict laws which passed in 2010. Those were actually changed this year. The fines were increased.
Oh, great.
And more places are required to provide designated areas for breastfeeding. And the most interesting part of the new changes to the law this year is that breastfeeding rooms cannot be in bathrooms.
Oh, they have to be separate.
That's right.
It's probably more sanitary that way, right?
That's absolutely right.
Well, that's great. Taiwan's a great place to breastfeed, put it that way.
I know there are still stigmas, so there's still a lot of work that needs to be done getting people on board with women breastfeeding in public.
But I think the rooms really help because I remember they didn't have them when I was breastfeeding, so I'd be in the middle of dinner or shopping, then I'd have to go to the bathroom for 20 minutes just to breastfeed. I'd miss out on all the conversation and everything. I'm like, okay, this is the mom's duty, So.
Well, hopefully in the future, you'll be able to do it whenever you need to and wherever you need to.
Up next, we take a look at what's happening on social media in our segment called #Taiwan. This week on #Taiwan, we take a look at what people are tweeting about moms because Mother's Day is approaching. Now let's take a look at this tweet. It's quite humorous and it's been making its rounds on Twitter and online. It says, stir-fried bamboo shoots with shredded meat. That's a dish that every mother in Taiwan knows. This is a classic photo wishing everyone a happy Mother's Day. Well, actually, it's not referring to a real dish. It's a play on words that refers to the stick that she's holding in back of her. And the shredded meat is referring to what her kids are going to become. They must have been naughty, right?
Absolutely. You can see them standing there in the background. Very cute. So this next tweet has to do with what to get your mother for Mother's Day. So it says, we were just discussing Mother's Day gifts and my male colleague said every year he and his brother give their mom a red envelope full of cash. #cash is most beautiful. I said my mom hasn't paying attention to me. #I'm exhausted. My female colleague said, I'm going to take my mom for a spa treatment. And a 27-year-old single male colleague said, I asked my mom what she wants, and she said, a grandson. I don't think she's getting that this year.
That's kind of hard.
That is kind of hard. I think you have to,
it's not an instant thing,
No, you have to lower your expectations perhaps a little bit.
All right, let's take a look at this last tweet. This says, what's everyone doing for Mother's Day? Me and my sister are bad kids. We haven't prepared anything yet. I was thinking we can go out, but all of the places, even street stalls, require a reservation for Mother's Day. We're not going to have to cook, are we? We eat out every day of the year, but on these special holidays, we eat in.
So it's kind of the opposite of what most people do, right? Every day of the year you eat at home, and then on special days you go out to eat. So
right.
maybe it'll turn out sweeter than we expected, and they'll have to
It'd be nice
cook.
if they cook for their mom.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Wonderful. I would love my kids to cook for me. That's this week's hashtag Taiwan. Do follow us on relevant social media and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
Now, it looks like a lot of people are struggling to figure out what to buy their mom for Mother's Day. Well, coming up, we have a report for you that can give you some ideas. Let's have a look.
Mother's Day is just around the corner in Taiwan. Have you seen a Mother's Day cake like this before? It's certainly unconventional. A card is attached to the cake with a string of banknotes. The giver of this special gift is a firefighter named Lin Ruizhe. Lin says the cash attached to this cake for his mother is real. In all, the cash gift amounts to $330. He got the cash in the cake by taping the bills and putting them in the box. YouTuber Dodo Mom has advice for Mother's Day gifts. She says don't buy makeup and skin products, as they may not match your mom's skin type. And don't give your mom pots and pans. Moms don't want your gift to remind them of household chores. Actually, what moms really want shouldn't be that hard to figure out. Why not give your mom a carnation, a hug, and a heartfelt thank you?
I totally agree with the end of the video. I don't think moms want expensive gifts, especially pots and pans.
You don't want pots and pans?
No.
Okay.
I have an idea for a free and priceless gift. You can tell your mom in person and in writing how much she means to you. I know that would make her day. That would make my day as a mom.
So I have to ask you, are your sons watching right now?
I hope so. No, I already told my husband to tell him to do that.
Very smart, very smart. So you're tag teaming the kids to make sure you get the right present. Excellent. Now, one priceless thing that I remember that my parents gave me as a child, my mom and my dad, is they used to read to me. So they share with me the gift of reading. To this day, I still like to read books.
I love reading to my kids. It's a great way to bond with your kids and to share great stories. And up next, we have an interview with the author of a new children's book. It's an English book called Hey Taipei. But first, let's take a look at this video, which gives us a preview.
Now, we also chatted with the author of Hey Taipei, Kathy Cheng, to find out what inspired her to write this book. Let's have a look.
A couple of years ago, I thought there are books about New York, London, Paris, and I thought Taipei deserved one too.
And a children's book.
Yes, in English, so everybody can read it.
So what is it about Taipei that interested you? Why did you want to write this book?
Well, I am Taiwanese. I grew up in Sydney, Australia, but I didn't grow up with a book like this on my bookshelf. So the Taiwanese part of me growing up wasn't as strong as the Australian side of me. So I have a little girl now, she's 18 months, and I wanted to make sure that she grows up with this book on her bookshelf, knowing that she's proud to be Taiwanese. Yeah.
And what did you love about Taiwan? You must love Taiwan in order to do something like
course,
this.
of
Yeah.
course.
So what do you love about Taipei that you want to share with the world?
It's just my hometown. I think everyone comes and has a great time. It's such an easy city to love. Lots of great history, great scenery, great food, and it's a great city for kids to travel in as well. So that's why the main character, this little girl, she's just exploring the city, and it's very approachable for young families. I wanted to convey that.
So who was this little girl modeled after? Was it you or was it your daughter?
It's my daughter, Claudia.
Okay.
But looking into the future, like when she's like maybe 5. She's only 18 months right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So have you read the book with Claudia?
Oh, she actually read it herself the first time. She opened the book and she was like blah blah blahing like to herself. I was like, oh, look at this, look at that. I caught it on camera. It was amazing.
The book is so friendly. It's so cheerful. Can you tell us about the scenes? Do you have a favorite scene in there?
So the illustrator did such an amazing job making every page so colorful and different from the previous one. I think my favorite scene is the temple scene of Longshan Temple, because it's just it's an angle that you don't see in real life, obviously, because you'd have to take a photo from a drone from up above, and you just notice all the little details. Let me just...
Maybe we can have you read it for us.
This page right here.
Ah, that's great.
So the text says, an afternoon visit to a famous temple, I pray to the gods with so many people. And you have these birds, and you're just looking down into the scene with people with the buabui here and making the offerings and with the incense sticks. And the little girl she's teeny tiny. You'd have to really find her right here, but this is probably my favorite one. Yeah.
Maybe can you flip to a page that shows the girl so we can see what she looks like?
So here she is at National Palace Museum looking at the jade cabbage.
She was so cute with those round eyes and that round face.
Yeah, she's pretty cute.
Very cute.
She's pretty cute.
I love this these 2 pages here. It says, the question of the night. So what's for dinner? I see dumplings on the menu. We have a winner. And that's really cool. That must have been very hard to rhyme the whole book.
It was actually quite easy. I read the book really quickly, actually, but I wanted to make sure that it was fun to read for parents, knowing that, this is a book that parents definitely have to read to their children. And I read a lot of books to my daughter, and when it's rhyming, it's a lot easier to get through.
It's more fun. It's more fun.
And you remember it as you go along, and it's more effortless,
And it's amazing how many little details that we recognize because we live in Taipei. I mean, you see like the familiar drinks, you see like the dumplings, of course, that we eat, the little dragon dumplings, xiaolongbao. This looks like shrimp.
Yeah, pineapple
Is this Taiwan beer?
Yes, that's 18 days. That's for the parents.
That's great.
Yeah.
A little something for everyone in this. And you find little things like that. It's almost like they're little Easter eggs throughout the whole book.
Yeah.
So what kind of response have you gotten from readers about this?
The best response has been from Taiwanese people living overseas, actually. So Taiwanese Americans, and I've had some response from the UK and Europe and also Australia, that, kids are remembering the trip that they made back to Taipei to visit Amma and Agong or other family members, and being like, oh, I'm looking forward to the next time we go back. So that's been lovely.
And it's really neat too. A lot of people have actually posted on social media, and you've also reposted some of their responses on your social media, just showing kids sitting down and reading the book, which I think is really cool. It must be very gratifying for you.
Oh, I love it. Every time I see one, it's like, oh, my heart, Yeah. Especially, I think there was one where an English teacher took the book to class, and all the Taiwanese students were flipping the pages and holding it up, and I was like, yes, oh my gosh, that's exactly why I wanted to create this book.
That was Kathy Cheng, the author of the new English children's book, Hey Taipei. We'll have links to her work in the notes below.
And finally today, we leave you with a parting shot. Now, at the beginning of our program today, we showed you a photo and asked you where you thought it was. Let's have a look at that photo. So it's a beautiful photo. Look at that, luminous clouds.
Wow, so light.
Yes, and a mountain you might recognize. Where do you think it is? Well, for the answer, we now go straight into our parting shot. So we're going to start off by talking about clouds. These are lenticular clouds shot in Ireland. They're the source of a lot of UFO sightings. They're formed when moist air condenses as it's pushed up the slope of a tall mountain.
And these are images of lenticular clouds in different places in Taiwan. You can see them kind of stacked up like a layered cake. And
here's the crowning shot, if you haven't guessed. This is Jade Mountain, or Yushan, the tallest mountain not just in Taiwan, but in East Asia. It measures about 4,000 meters tall, just under that. Wow, doesn't it look cool with those glowing clouds on top of it?
Beautiful pictures.
Absolutely. We hope you enjoyed this inside look at Taiwan this week. Be sure to leave us a comment below and follow us on social media.
Yes, and check out our show notes below. We have links to a lot of things that we discussed today. For Taiwan Insider, I'm Natalie Sell.
And I'm Andrew Ryan. See you next week.